Cadia doesn't stand. Cadia fell, and so did the guardsmen. So today, we're going to do a nice chaotic guardsman conversion. This is going to be a very rapid paint job, and we're going to do a really fun spiky base just to go along with that theme.
Weapons fire detected.
I'm extremely excited to get the Cadia stand models. I really thought that the rumored space doors were going to be my jam, but once I saw them it just didn't really click with me. But the new guard models, I was instantly hooked. I immediately wanted to turn these things into the Helghast from Killzone. It's an old PlayStation shooter, started around PS2, and it was a really great, dark, gritty feeling world. And these guys are just perfect. The sculpts fit amazingly well. Now, you could also do this with almost any other guardsman. You could even grab some of your veteran guardsmen if you've got this guy sitting around. So this is going to bring us to that chaotic conversion. It's really pretty simple. All I'm doing here is a head swap out, and I copped out a little bit. I bought my heads online. You could get STL files, you could do some green stuff for this. I'm just going to go ahead and use these because they exist and they match perfect. In order to make those hoses, I'm going to need to borrow something a little bit non-standard. So one second. Now that I've got my highly technical tools at the ready, it's time to roll out some hoses. Whenever you work with green stuff, you're going to want to keep your fingers and whatever tool you're using damp. This avoids the sticking and the pulling of the green stuff, kind of destroying whatever shape you're trying to achieve. The idea here is to gently press down on the green stuff as you roll it across the comb. It gives you a series of ridges, imitating the tools that you can actually buy to make this stuff. In order to bring that gritty Killzone vibe, I'm going to be staying in a fairly desaturated color palette. I'll be using directional lighting, only focusing on what you're looking at, and not what you don't. Who does that? This right here, this is where we're going to focus our efforts. I could add a white zenithal over this black primer, but I feel like dry brushing white from the top to the bottom is going to give me a lot more control, and it's going to show off the edges and give you a lot more definition to the model. It's really easy to lose your readability when you're going this dark on a model, so I want to keep as much definition as I can in order to keep it legible. Following the dry brushing, I'll be using a mix of mostly contrast paints in order to avoid obscuring everything that I've done up to this point. Now, it doesn't have to be contrast paint, but you do want something that's translucent, something you can see through a little bit. A lot of the heavy lifting in this project is going to be done by Black Templar. I can hear you from here, I get it, but the models already have black. Well, I'm using it to reinforce those shadows, especially some of those areas where the dry brushing may have gotten a little bit too heavy and made it a little more gray than I want. As for the straps, the backpack, the masks, that's all going to get a coat of snakebite leather. For the mask in particular, I'm going to be adding a little bit of white into it to brighten it up. It's going to essentially pull attention up to the head, up to the face, and kind of frame that out, give you somewhere to look, a focal point. Helps you avoid your eyes wandering around the model. I mean, if people do too much looking, they're going to find some of these shortcuts we're taking, and that just won't work. For the weapons and armor, I'll be using a mixture of white, basilicanum gray, and Black Templar. The goal of the step is to lay down a lighter base coat, and then I'll add some darker tones over top. And after that, I'll come back in with my wet brush before it's fully cured and kind of strip back some of that dark to expose some of those white areas in the highlights. This is also going to create a pretty natural transition between the dark going up to the light. So at this point, I've actually lost a lot of the dark side of the model, and this is really going to hinder the final feel of the piece. What I want is for it to be very moody, and right now it's just too saturated and defined. I'll add in a little bit more black, and also some of that Drakenhof Nightshade, in order to get the cool colors in to play against the browns, and then the future red that I'm going to introduce. Now that we've forced the shadows back in, we need to re-emphasize the focal points, the head and the weapon. I'm going to be doing this through edge highlighting. If you're following along, you'll notice that we still have some leftover highlights from that initial dry brush going from the top all the way down to the bottom. I want to make this brighter. I want to make it punchier. This is again going to capture your attention and draw you into the areas that we as the painter want the person to look, and not at the places we're skimping on to save time and to get things done. Moving on to the true star of the show, the clear red. This is going to be going over the lenses. This is the boldest, brightest color on this entire model. And the whole point of this is to grab that focus and put it right up on the face. From here, we're on to what little detailing we'll be doing. I'm bringing silver in just to break up the flat colors, add a little bit more variation, a little variety. You probably won't even notice it in your final piece, but subliminally your mind's going to pick this up, your eye's going to see it, and you're going to notice that it's there, even if you don't recognize it. And that's it. Like I said, a rapid paint job. And that means it's time for the spiky base. I'd been struggling with what to do for the bases on here, and initially I thought what I wanted to do was to add some chaos spikes all over. Then I started looking at how much those things cost. I decided to audible. In the end, I settled on repurposing the plastic sprue remnants that are already in the box and just mix in some Plasto model putty and some acrylic earth. I'll put out a more in-depth video on this once I get the rest of the kill team done, but as you can see here, it's a really simple process. We're going to do some more dry brushing, a little more contrast paint. Overall, this is probably the easiest paint job that I've done in years, and I love it. This is exactly the kind of thing you need if you're doing horde armies, or if you just want to get a lot of different types of units on the table. If you got a lot of kill teams to get out, this is a great way to do it. For the coloring on the base, we're leaning again into the cool and warm contrast using that blue and the browns. It's something to tie it back into the mini. Now that we got them both done, it's time to unite them in the ultimate grimdark Killzone tribute. A little bit of drilling, a paperclip pin, and that's it, guys. Hopefully this helps show you can really get away with speed painting, skipping some details, painting outside the box, as long as you emphasize the right areas. There isn't really one right way to do the hobby, so just get out there, find what comes natural to you, and what you enjoy. Thanks for joining me on this nostalgic adventure. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. I'll have a little more detailed basing video coming up to showcase in the future. So if you're interested in seeing how these things get made in depth, go ahead and do the things, YouTube things. So yeah, see you in the next one.